Hello, everyone. This is Valerie here, and this has been pondering on my mind for a while now, and I was feeling complicated about it, to put it simply. A lot has happened. It's been 3 years, so I have had a lot of time to process what has happened, and I have decided that I cannot keep quiet about this anymore. I did promise myself, and I tried to stay out of situations like this, and especially keep this situation out of my mind. And I have recovered partly from this. However, there has been a lot that I have realized in the past 3 years, from being 17 to being 20, and a lot has changed my mind, and a lot of it has definitely made me realize a lot of things, and I wanted to come out about it. And this will also be another form of coming out, because the situation does directly relate to this. So yeah, so the situation that I am talking about, I am not going to be talking in complete pejoratives, or vague pejoratives. I think that's the term. I will mention the main person that this involves around. I will also edit out any background noise, but other than the background noise, I'm going to try to do this in one take, as much as I can talk about. I am talking about Rosina Head, who some of you may remember because of the incident that happened. And yeah, I wanted to give a history of this, and also wanted to explain myself here. So, about 3 years ago, I was still in this community. I don't even know what to call it anymore, because I'm friends with practically no one there anymore, which is a good thing. But I'm not going to talk about that specifically. But I did meet Rosina around this time period, and I thought we were hitting it off, or I thought we did. Then some drama happened over special interests and stuff, and that I have a lot to talk about later in the video. But we're going to try to get this main, from what I remember of what happened during this whole thing. After that, we had a public fight in that server. I think it was called Tell Us About It, and I ended up making a little video that I later ended up deleting, showing messages or some crap. I don't even remember what the fuck I did, in that regard. So yeah, then a little bit later we patched things up, and then literally just a little bit later after that, I immediately went to making a fucking video about it, because I didn't have any sources to fucking vent. I wasn't in therapy at the time, and I thought that was the only way I could do that for some reason. And a lot of it was, yeah, again, I'm trying not to spoil too much, but after that we had a fight in DMs on Messenger, and then I ended up breaking it off, and then after that a lot of shit happened. I was feeling immense distress from that situation. I made an apology video, and then after a few months after that, the drama started, because I made a video about that. And then after that, I, for whatever reason, thought that would be the end. I was wrong, because I cannot stop making videos about that. After the first couple videos, which were, to be quite frank, bullying, it was bullying, and mocking her for her accent, mocking her for her interests, being autistic, and all that other shit. Then she made a response to that, talking about my video, and the only part about that I even have any remote grievance with now is particularly just the misgendering. And they also did label me non-binary, because I use they them pronouns, even though I didn't identify as non-binary. I identified as gender non-conforming, but that's a whole other thing. But after that, I made a response tearing her apart, and then she deleted the video, posted that she was thinking about suicide, and then I made a bunch of other videos telling her to go fuck herself, and I made memes about it. I was like making video like exposing information she does not want you to know about, and I got a bunch of people that are like, hey, I had this thing, and then a bunch of shit came out, and like I was fed a bunch of information, and then I kept making videos about it, and then after that, it didn't really stop. It was just kind of stagnant for a little while, like a few months, and then by October, I ended up making another fucking series of videos. Even one of my friends, Jaden, got involved with it, and he regrets those videos. For the record, I don't know if like this is really like highly relevant information, but he regrets making those videos too. So yeah, that's the only real part of that where like he did say some shit during that time too that was not good. So after that, it was initially sort of saddening again, and then I made a video exposing some like drama document that she was going to make or something, and then by December, shit hit the fan because all of her friends started turning on her, and then I made more videos. I hosted a live stream, which again, I'll talk about that. And then after all that, she deletes almost all of her accounts and goes into hiding. And yeah, after that, that was pretty much not really the end of that, but that was the end of the main thing involving her specifically. So I'm going to try to go by this one by one because I had thought about this for a while, and I'm just going to be frank, I was completely wrong for this, and I will explain why I was wrong during this whole thing. Firstly, a lot of the shit that I said about autism during that whole thing was I made a meme about her calling me ableist and trying to like mock it, but to be quite frank, it was ableism. It was fully 100% ableism, and it was internalized ableism at that. And the reason why I said a lot of that shit was because a lot of that rhetoric that I was fed was stuff that I had internalized myself because I am autistic as well. And a lot of the shit that I would do in school was similar to stuff that she would. I would talk a lot about my hyperfixations, and and that was another thing. My fucking weird hinges or like weird specific obsession with like saying, oh, the hyperfixation special interests are dumb. That's what everyone has. Like, again, that was bullshit. And I also believe that whole thing about autism shouldn't define you, when that's literally like what autism literally does define you. It affects how your brain reacts, how you react emotionally, the stuff that you enjoy, and a lot of different stuff. But again, I had a lot of that shit shoved deep within my head, and I repeated it again because I wanted to be accepted by people, and it didn't work because, yeah, believe it or not, excluding other people from your own community and doesn't actually mean you'll get accepted. It just means that they're using you as a tool, as one of the good ones. And then the second that you say something against them, then they're going to kick you out too. So basically the lesson there is do not exclude people from your own community. And another thing that I wanted to mention was, actually, I have a couple things to mention. First off, a lot of people remember during that whole incident, I was like, a lot of the thing was predicated on her being a pedophile. That was not true. That was 100% bullshit. And the reason why that happened too is because I was raised in this fucking, not like family wise, but a lot of the internet groups and fandoms and other stuff that I hung out with were very predicated on pedo hunting and internet vigilantism. And pedo hunting is a cult. And what a lot of these people do is that they go out searching for pedophiles, like they're trying to be like Chris Hansen types, and they often do it based on either false information, or they will intentionally ask leading questions and many other tactics to try and bait out a pedophile. And the thing is that this does not actually work, because a lot of times when these internet vigilantes try to expose pedos, they get off scot-free anyway, because this is not the court of law. This is the internet, and people often do not get consequences for shitty things they do on the internet. They often get off scot-free because again, they're not being persecuted by being like outed on the internet or any of that. And it's the whole thing. And the next thing I wanted to talk about was, I wanted to mention this too, is that the thing is, she is asexual. So the fact that I, for some reason, thought that, like, she literally did not have a romantic attraction to Sora at all, or even like a sexual attraction. She is literally asexual. That makes zero fucking sense. And that was because a lot of the rhetoric that I was fed, again, about asexual people, I confused it with sexual puritanism, which is a completely different subject. Sexual puritanism is where people harass people who engage in sexual acts, who think like kinks and fetishes are degenerate and all that other bullshit. And again, this is also propagated a lot by these pedo hunter types. They overwhelmingly target LGBT people and the members of the LGBTQ plus community, because there has been a long-going campaign by Republicans and politicians alike who spread this myth that LGBT people are indoctrinating kids into a cult, and that there's a social degeneracy and it's a social contagion, that if we allow LGBT people to exist, then they're going to catch it themselves. And I did not know this initially when I was propagating a lot of that bullshit and I was in the pedo hunting cult. I thought that it was just a good thing that people were doing their part in exposing these evils. And again, no, this isn't, again, like, getting exposed online doesn't mean shit, really. Like, other than the person involved, even if what they did wasn't true, or if a lot of it was fabricated, will still get harassed, because even if it is proven wrong, and even if the person who propagated the whole thing and started the whole thing admits that they were wrong, people are still going to choose to believe it anyway. And they just really don't care. They just want a reason to harass people. And that's what I did during a lot of this fucking thing. I intentionally kept looking for people who didn't like her to, like, try and feed me information about her. And another thing about that too, about the whole, like, especially during like a lot of like the old Discord DMs that were like used as evidence for that whole thing, a lot of that really should not have been publicized. And I'm not even specifically talking about her. Like, she was literally a fucking child during this whole thing. I'm talking about the people who gave me the information, who gave me those screenshots and those tweets and all that. That is not stuff that you should be publicizing that much, especially like the whole Facebook thing when she was like threatening to like cut herself and shit. Like, that is not stuff you should share on the fucking internet. Like, if someone is going through that, they're probably not doing mentally well, and using it as information for an expose just worsens that type of stuff. It worsens the type of feelings that they get, because they feel like they can't go anywhere without being harassed and discriminated against. And yeah, the next thing I wanted to talk about, there was a video that I made during that period. It was related to why I can't stop deleting Rosina videos or whatever it was. And I said that I had a crush on her and that I had romantic feelings for her. I am going to be completely frank. A lot of the things that I was told as a kid and not just as a kid, but even when I was an adult too, was that when it came to relationships, whether it be heterosexual, heteromantic, or queer, is that they had to be based on romantic feelings and based on romanticism, romantic relationships, and not sexual relationships oftentimes. This was all before, and what these like feelings and like this feeling that I needed to get a girlfriend or a partner in order to be happy with myself was a coping mechanism. I wanted to get a girlfriend or a partner so bad that I've often forced myself that like it was like a. What I'm saying is I did not feel any romantic feelings towards people, because a lot of it I was not able to tell whether it was a romantic feelings, or if it was obsession, which is what Rosina was. It was an obsession, and I tried saying it wasn't an obsession, but like I made like fucking 1,500 different videos about it. So yeah, it was definitely an obsession. And what I'm trying to say here is that I am aromantic. I do not feel romantic feelings for people, or if I do, it is very little and only towards select people. So technically, that would be demi-romantic. However, I prefer the label aromantic because I don't really feel romantic feelings. I'm not asexual. I do feel like sexual attraction to people, but I do not feel romantic attraction, is what I've been saying. And I did come out about this on Discord, but I did not say this publicly on my YouTube community post or any of that. So I wanted to officially state it here because this directly like I said, it directly relates to this, because I did make that video publicizing how I felt. And again, a lot of it was based on societal factors. So that was that. And the next thing I wanted to talk about, from what I remember, was the infamous live stream that I did during that point that did get removed from YouTube, and rightfully so. And it was the fact that when I made that live stream, I invited people on to come on and talk about Rosina. And there was a particular part that happened during that, and it was likely what caused the video to be taken down. It was someone in there who I will not reference by name directly telling her to kill herself. If I had known that that would happen, I don't know why I allowed that to be on there. Like, well, it was because I felt like, because of all the bad things that I thought she did, that I thought it was justified to do that. But that was disgusting that I allowed that to happen. Not only that it was said, but the fact that I did not say anything to push back against this. I did not tell them to stop. I did not tell them to do any of that. And that likely just made everything worse. Not even likely, it did make everything worse, because not only was it because of that, but it was based on things that were not even fucking true. Again, like the whole pedophile hunting accusations. Well, the accusations, I mean, it was a fucking pedo hunt. That's what I'm trying to say there. And I disavow a lot of what those people who I used to be friends with did and said. And I wanted to talk about another thing. There was another live stream that I was on, not one by me, but it was over an expose document that was made during that whole thing. There was a live stream, and there was a thing that I distinctly remember saying. The video is not up anymore because the account got deleted, but the thing I wanted to mention, I distinctly remember there was a part where I was defending her ex-boyfriend at that time, and I was specifically trying to defend the sexual comments that he was making towards her. Which, first off, why the hell would you do that? Like, you enter a relationship with someone who is asexual, and you continuously sexually objectify them and sexualize them when you know that they are not sexually attracted to anyone. That is very shitty. And what I tried to say to defend him doing this was saying that, oh, well, she had done this stuff. She talked about stuff that she did sexually, so I don't see why that's a problem. I don't think he would do stuff like that. This was before I found out that the guy who did that is a creep and made child pornography. But even if that wasn't true, that was still a very stupid defense and a very wrong and disgusting thing to do, that I tried justifying that shit because, oh, they were doing this sexually. First off, she was literally groomed into doing that stuff by that Officer ACP guy. That's like blaming a fucking rape victim. That's like blaming a rape victim for being raped. Like, oh, you should have worn a short skirt then. Like, literally, that is literally what that type of shit was. And, like, even if they weren't groomed by that too, just because someone is okay sharing their own sexual feelings with people and like sharing things that they enjoy sexually, that doesn't mean that other people get to do it without consent. Like, that's the whole thing, is between two consenting adults, and it matters like if they are okay with sharing it, and if you consent to them doing sexual stuff with you. That is the entire fucking thing. But it wasn't. It was advances that they were making. So yeah, I believe I've mentioned most of what I wanted to, but the main thing that I wanted to say here after all of this is, Rosina, I am deeply sorry for all of this shit that I did to you. That was incredibly wrong of me to do that entire thing. You are not a pedophile. You are not a terrible person. You are not any of that. You are not a bully. You are not anything. And despite the one thing that I mentioned and some of the things that may have happened, that did not justify what I and everyone else did to you. And I would say everyone else, but it was all based on stuff that I had repeatedly said, because I duped myself into thinking that this was true with zero evidence. And another thing about that too, I almost forgot to mention this, especially when like people after that those live streams were made went out and doxed her family for this shit. They had doxed the name of her mother and her father, and even someone even called the school, like called the college that she went to. That was like, dude, that went way too fucking far. That like, don't fucking do that. Like, there is nothing that you could do to fucking justify that type of shit. And not only would that get her in trouble, but it could also get you in trouble yourself. So, yeah, incredibly reckless and really shitty behavior on everyone's side on like the shit that I started. So, yeah, I wanted to say I am sorry for what you said, what I said, and I deeply regret doing all of this. If I had known what would happen later, I would not have even done that. Or if I did, well, I wouldn't even, again, I was conditioned into a lot of this stuff, but that is an explanation for what happened. That is not an excusing. I take 100% responsibility for all of this. And the last thing I wanted to say was directly to the others involved that were in this situation. To anyone who is still engaging in this situation and is still repeatedly making claims about her being a pedophile and all this other stuff, stop it. Stop it. You are being incredibly shitty for this, and you are also doing it based on stuff that I propagated that was not even remotely true. And it has been 3 years now. She does not deserve this fucking level of harassment. And again, the fact that she had to go into hiding because of all this and all that other stuff, like, what I said to you was not true. Like, it was a bunch of like bullshit. Like, just please stop doing that. Like, if you continue to do that after this, you are a complete piece of shit. And I stopped engaging with this shit a while ago. I encourage everyone else to do the same, and I don't expect anyone to forgive me. But I'm sure there's some people who are watching this that are probably gonna like be like, "Oh, how could you do that? How could you defend her?" Like, I don't give a shit. I don't. I really do not. Like, I could continue like being like, "Oh yeah, she was so bad. We really did something good there." I could keep saying that, but that's not what I believe. I don't want this to even continue. I don't want this to haunt my memories. I do not want this to haunt her. I don't want this to like be the thing that I'm known for. I don't want any of this to continue. I don't want this to like be as big as it is anymore. And I just wish that it would all stop. I wish that this shit would stop haunting me, and I wish that she would stop being fucking harassed by people. And I just, yeah, a lot of that shit, all that shit that I did, all those drama videos that I made and all that other stuff was a cope. It was completely to cope with what was going on in my own mind during those times, and all the stuff that I did and all the stuff that I was thinking and doing. And I did this to cope with it, and I thought it made me happy. I thought it gave me a little dopamine boost, but it didn't last long. It just made me even more upset. I feel like I had to prove myself as like the savior of the internet and shit. But it didn't. It made things worse. It made everything fucking worse. It caused me to repress so much of shit that I was. It led to me, like, harassing other people to cope with my own misdeeds and to cope with the other stuff that happened. And I just don't want, like, I don't want this to keep happening. I don't want this to, like, I just wish that it would all stop. Like, just please don't harass them on my behalf. Don't do any of that, please. Like, I beg of you, just please, just don't do that. Just, I think I said everything that I wanted to. Rosina, I am sorry that I did all this to you. You don't have to forgive me. I don't want anyone to be felt like they have to forgive me for this. I wanted to start anew, and that person was not it was not who I was. Like, it was based on so many things that I had been forced into believing and forced to behaving like, and I want out of it. I don't want to be forced to be this, like, guy. I don't. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So see you all later, and yeah.